Midnight Moon. Written by Suzana Thompson. Narrated by Sarah Sampino. Chapter 24. The dreams began immediately after Damien left for Alaska. I had the first one that very night, while he was still on the airplane en route to his destination. When he later described his new surroundings, they matched what I had seen in my dream. I was encircled by tall trees as my powerful legs took me through a dense forest. My ears picked up the scurrying of small animals nearby, and my sensitive nose distinguished the various scents carried on the wind. I emerged from the trees to stand on a high ridge overlooking a deep valley of darkness and shadows. My gaze swept up to the swirl of glowing green lights beside the full moon in the night sky. The sound of another creature approaching behind me didn't worry me, for I recognized his familiar scent. I turned my head when he stopped beside me, and the black wolf nuzzled my fur before joining me in admiring the glorious view. I woke human and alone in my bed. The dream stayed on my mind all day, as I wondered if that was really what it felt like to be a wolf, or if it was only a wonderful fantasy created by my imagination. I didn't tell Damien about my dream, but he would describe this exact same sight to me several months later. He happened to be in his wolf form the first time he saw the aurora borealis, and he called me excitedly the next morning to declare that I had to see it for myself. There was no way that he could convince me to fly out to Alaska during the winter, and he wasn't coming home for Christmas either. It was just too expensive for him to fly back and forth from his remote new home. I was planning to visit him over the summer, though, since he was staying there to work during vacation. I hadn't left the state to go to college, but I was at least far enough from home to necessitate living in a dorm. My new friends couldn't understand why I didn't take advantage of my freedom from parental control to join them in their excessive partying. They did, however, understand why I turned down every guy who hit on me when they did manage to drag me out to a party. I have a boyfriend, I would tell whatever guy had approached me that evening. A very hot boyfriend, one of my drunken friends would add if she happened to overhear me. They'd exclaimed over my pictures of Damien and voiced their dismay that I'd let him go so far away. "You can't leave a guy like that alone," was their frequent refrain. "I trust him," I said, speaking the truth. Despite our separation, I never had a moment's doubt over his faithfulness to me. "You can't trust other women around him," they insisted. "They'll try to steal him from you." "They can try," I replied confidently. No, my ego hadn't become inflated. It was just a very strong feeling I had about him. Maybe it was due to that psychic ability Daphne had bestowed upon me, which turned out not to have faded away after all. In fact, it hit me full force about a month after Damien went to Alaska, and I called him in a panic. I wouldn't remember everything I said to him, but I apparently gave him very detailed instructions of where to go out in the wilderness. "There's a man," I recall telling him urgently. "He's hurt and he's in trouble. You have to help him."
"It's happening,"
Damien choked out. He failed to respond to my desperate questions about what was happening, and he didn't answer his phone the numerous times I tried to call him back. I could no longer remember all the details of the man's location, and I was losing confidence that my psychic information was even real. Could I really pick up on the distress of someone thousands of miles away? It didn't seem possible when I hadn't even had an inkling of anyone being in trouble within my vicinity. People got hurt every day, and I hadn't had any premonitions about any of them. I was now more concerned about Damien's abrupt end to our conversation. What was going on out there? It was maddening to have no way of finding out. I had called him at midnight, and I didn't sleep at all that night. He didn't call me back until noon the following day. What I had failed to take into account in my agitation was the 4-hour time difference between us. I had also forgotten that there had been a full moon the previous night. The sun had been setting in Anchorage when Damien answered my call. He had no time to talk then, and he had no time to talk now.
"Everything's okay,"
he quickly assured me.
I'll call you later and explain.
It was nearly evening by me when he called to tell me the whole story. He also sent me a link to a news article about the incident later. A man had been stranded in the wilderness after he broke his leg. His situation was bad with night quickly approaching, but it got even worse when a bear showed up and took a scary interest in him. If that wasn't terrifying enough, a large and ferocious black wolf suddenly found him. He didn't know which beast was going to finish him off first. The wolf managed to drive away the bear, and the man braced himself for its attack. Incredibly, the wolf not only didn't harm him, but also stood guard over him all night. The man actually dozed off, and the wolf was gone when he awoke. He still didn't know how he was going to get out of his precarious situation, but his amazing luck held out. A hiker with a satellite phone happened upon him just then, and was able to call for help. His rescuer was a local college student out exploring the area, and the article mentioned the young man's name, Damien Stark. "You saved him!" I exclaimed emotionally.
No,
Damien said.
you saved him, Clarissa. I wouldn't have even known he was out there if it wasn't for you.
I changed the subject to deflect his praise. "Where'd you get the satellite phone and the clothes?"
My parents got me the phone because they were worried about cell phone reception out here. It's a good thing I decided to put it in my backpack with a change of clothes. I had it ready for the full moon because I can carry it in my mouth.
That statement really drove home the oddness of his situation. Yet it felt so natural in my dreams of exploring the wilderness with him as his wolf companion. His next words mirrored my thoughts.
We make a good team, Clarissa, in every way.